Hey family, welcome back to Kingdom South Plus, where we work the words of Jesus beyond Sunday. If this is your first time here, my name is Pastor Sean. I'm grateful that you're listening to this wherever you get your podcast. Yesterday was a good day. We're back in a series called Church in the Wild. We started it last year. I promised our church that whenever we had margin, we would return to it. So I figured right after Easter, right before we get ready to start a new series for women in May, was a great time to re-enter Church in the Wild. Our goal is to preach through the entire book of Acts. It's probably going to take us a year or two to get through it, but I'm committed to the process. Shameless plug, if you've missed any of the recaps that we've shared so far, I'd encourage you to go back and binge listen so that you can get caught up to where we are right now. The goal when we made the shift from the Kingdom South podcast to Kingdom South Plus was to make these short and shareable. We want you to be able to consume them on a commute, on your lunch break, and we want you to be able to help us to reach more people. There are people who don't go to our church, who are not a part of our spiritual family, and they find value in the teaching ministry that God has given us. And so we want to be able to get these recaps to them. And then there are just people out here who are looking for a place to be a part of, looking for a community, and we want to be able to get this to them as well. So again, I would encourage you to go back and binge listen so that you can get caught up on where we are. Last week in Acts 4, as we concluded the chapter, we saw a picture of what authentic community looks like. A church marked by unity, generosity, and shared life where no one claimed anything as their own and needs were consistently met. We said that if we're going to follow the example of the early church, we need more than the right intentions. We need the right culture, defined by how we act, interact, and react. But Acts doesn't just show us what to build, it also shows us what can break. And here in Acts 5, we're confronted with one of the greatest threats to authentic community. Not persecution from the outside, but performance from the inside. In the first 11 verses, we meet a couple named Ananias and Sapphira. We don't know much about them beyond what we read here, but what we do know is enough. They were part of the community. They saw what was happening around them, people selling possessions, laying the proceeds at the apostles' feet, needs being met, lives being changed. They saw the culture of generosity taking shape and wanted to be part of it, so they sold a piece of property. But instead of bringing the full amount, they kept back a portion for themselves while presenting the rest as if it were everything. Not because they had to give it all, but because they wanted to be seen as the kind of people who did. Peter confronts Ananias first, exposing not just the act, but the heart behind it. This wasn't ultimately about money, but about lying to the Holy Spirit. Ananias falls dead. A few hours later, Sapphira comes in unaware of what had happened. She is given a chance to tell the truth, but instead she reinforces the lie. And she too falls dead. And just like that, the same community that was marked by unity and generosity in Acts 4 is now marked by fear and awe in Acts 5. Now, as I was preparing for yesterday's message, I was thinking through, okay, what approach do I take to this text? Again, you guys have heard me say, if you've been to Kingdom South, or maybe I've said it on one of these recaps, we only get one book. That's the one thing that separates this work from many other professions and spaces and industries. We only get one book. We don't get an updated edition. We don't get a revised edition. One day there aren't going to be more books of the Bible. This is all we got. This is it. So we've got to find ways to share the same messages in a different light. So being able to take a certain angle, a certain look. Okay, how are we going to engage this particular text? And I'm a church kid, so I've heard the story of Ananias and Sapphira before. If you listen to this and you're a church kid, you've heard it before. Normally the conversation is centered around greed, or it's centered around lying. It's centered around something regarding resources, money, and that's not incorrect. So I don't want you to mishear me. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I'm always asking myself, especially now in this season of church planting, when it comes to what God has called us to do here at Kingdom South, we are unapologetically formation focused. So how do I prepare a formation focused message with a text like this? So I felt compelled to lean into what I am calling performative spirituality. I want to define it for you. Performative spirituality is an outward representation that does not match the inward reality. It is often motivated by the desire to be seen, affirmed, or accepted by others rather than to be formed by God. Here's what's crazy though. We pretend to be things and yet reject the invitation of formation that would actually make us the things we're pretending to be. Let me say it one more time. We pretend to be things and yet reject the invitation of formation that would actually make us the things we're pretending to be. We spend all this time acting like we something, and God is like, if you would submit to the process of formation, I could actually make you into the thing you pretending to be. But then, just as a thinker, I'm like, okay, so why do we pretend though? Why is performative spirituality a thing? So that's what yesterday's message was all about. That's the idea I was chasing. Why do we perform? Okay, we know we perform, but why? And I want to contend in this recap that we perform because we want to be seen without being exposed. We want to be seen without being exposed. Now, let me be very clear on the outset in terms of what I mean by this. When I say we want to be seen, I'm not talking about people who have like center of attention energy. Like there's some people who they want to be seen. No matter what room they go in, no matter what space they go in, they want to be the center of attention. I'm not talking about those kinds of people. Because some of you, if you're not that, you're going to tune me out. I don't want you to tune me out here. I want you to listen to what I'm saying, because all of us in some way, shape, or form want to be seen. All of us. Nobody wants to just walk around and be ignored. Nobody wants to just live on an island by themselves. Like we all, in some way, shape, or form, want to be seen without being exposed. And fortunately and unfortunately for us, that tension is not new. It traces all the way back to the beginning. In Genesis 2, humanity is described as naked and unashamed, fully seen, fully known, and fully at peace. No hiding, no posturing, no performance, just honest presence before God and one another. But in Genesis 3, after sin enters the story, something shifts. The text says their eyes were open and their first instinct was not celebration, but concealment. Come on, think with me. If you remember the story of Genesis, at the beginning, he tells them, hey, you can't eat from this tree. If you eat from this tree, you will surely die. The serpent, in the form of the enemy, Satan, comes in and tempts Eve to eat this particular fruit, promising this enlightenment that, hey, if you eat this, you're going to be like God, knowing good from evil. So she eats the fruit. The Bible says she takes it. She gives it to her husband who was with her. So I need you to see the Genesis reference even here in this story of Ananias and Sapphira. The text makes sure to let us know that they were in cahoots with one another, that this was not a singular decision made by him or her, that they were on the same page with this decision. Again, don't miss the Genesis reference here. So they eat the fruit, their eyes are open, but you would assume, based on what they were promised, this enlightenment, that they would be celebrating. Now your eyes are open. Now you got the thing you wanted to get. Why are you not happy? Their instinct is not celebration, but concealment. They sow fig leaves together. They hide from God. Why, though? What changed? Not their visibility, but their vulnerability. Their visibility hasn't changed. They are still as seen as they were before. What's changed is their vulnerability. For the first time, being seen felt dangerous. Again, in chapter 2, they're naked, they're unashamed. They didn't just get naked in chapter 3, guys. They're naked in chapter 2, but they're naked and unashamed. By the time we get to chapter 3 and sin enters the picture, now the nakedness that brought no shame now brings shame. Visibility has not changed. They are as seen as they were before. Vulnerability has changed. And it is possible for visibility to stay the same and for vulnerability to change. This happens in friendships. This happens in romantic relationships. Visibility is the same. They still talking. They still there. Vulnerability is not the same. They there, but they not there. They with you, but they not really with you no more. For the first time, being seen felt dangerous. And that moment becomes the blueprint for the human condition. We were created to be known, but now we fear what will happen if we are. So we manage what others see. We curate our image. We present a version of ourselves that feels safer than the truth. And the deeper the insecurity, the stronger the impulse to perform. Again, here at Kingdom South, we are in passionate pursuit of what we call life as God intended. That's what we mean by the word kingdom. Now, again, kingdom means a lot of stuff. If you're listening to this, kingdom may mean a whole lot of things depending on where you hear it and who says it. But for us, kingdom is life as God intended. So we're in passionate pursuit of that. That's what our entire church is built around. That's what this ecosystem is about. That's what Work These Words is about. It's about pursuing life as God intended. We recognize that God had an original design in mind when he created the heavens and the earth. And because sin entered the picture, we have deviated from that design. But that does not mean God has changed his mind. God is serious about his design. He's serious about his intentions for humanity, which is why he sent Jesus, to pull us back to his original intent, his original design. I said all that to say his original intent and original design was for us to be known. Remember, he creates Adam and then he says it's not good that man should be alone. Again, people get so caught up on marriage and that kind of stuff, and that's not the point that the writer of Genesis is making. Yes, marriage is God's institution, but that's not the point he's making. The point he's making is that we need each other. Because every man's not going to get married. Every woman's not going to get married. But we need each other. We need one another. We're designed to be known. But now, because of sin and its progression through the generations, we fear what will happen if we are. So we manage what other people see. We curate our image. Now, there's been a lot of that going on for as long as time has existed. But in our modern age, I'd argue it's even more curated because of social media and filters and all kinds of things. We get to decide what people see. Everyone knows what it's like to want connection while protecting ourselves from exposure. We want intimacy without risk, acceptance without honesty, and community without cost. So I said something in the message yesterday. I'm going to say on this recap because I think it's very important. I think it's where some of the challenge lies in terms of the dating world. Like you hear people kind of using this term and people use it like jokingly, but I mean, there's some validity to the claim that there's quote unquote pee in the dating pool. So dating is not what it used to be. And I would argue as a pastor and a coach, so someone who is in the people business, I do people. That's my job. I've been in the people business all of my adult life. And I am telling you that part of the reason why dating is so hard, part of the reason why there's quote unquote pee in the dating pool is because we want intimacy without risk. We want acceptance without honesty. We want community without cost. We want to be seen but not exposed. And for the types of relationships that many of us long for and desire, you cannot have one without the other. And this is where performative spirituality takes root, because religion is a monster. It can become the perfect place to hide. It gives us the language, the rhythms, and the practices that look like devotion, but can be used to avoid surrender. We learn how to sound spiritual, how to appear committed, how to participate publicly while holding back privately. And that's what makes Acts 5 so sobering. Ananias and Sapphira didn't reject the community. They participated in it. They didn't avoid generosity, they practiced it. But what was presented on the outside didn't match what was on the inside. They wanted to be seen without being exposed. And that is the anthropological reality that is plaguing our culture. That's it. We want this without that. And that's not how any of this works. So what do we do? How do we overcome? Okay, we've diagnosed. We want to be seen without being exposed. We're trapped in this performance wheel. So how do we overcome it? Well, let's go back to our Genesis reference. Because the gospel does not call us into deeper hiding. The gospel calls us out of hiding. The same God that Adam and Eve ran from is the same God who came looking for them. So they eat the fruit, their eyes are open, things are not as they assumed they would be. They hide. God shows up because he's looking for the kind of relationship that they had prior to sin. And he asks the question, this coaching question, one of the most powerful coaching questions that one can ask. Where are you? He specifically calls to Adam and he says, where are you? Now, those of us who ascribe to the Christian faith, we know that God is all-knowing. So God is not asking Adam where he is because he doesn't know. He's not trying to get information. He's trying to extend an invitation. Let me say it again. He's not looking for information. He's not trying to find out where Adam is. God isn't lost. His GPS isn't broken. He knew exactly where Adam and Eve were. This wasn't about information. This was an invitation. He asked them, where are you? We know eventually Adam confesses. We were naked, so we hid. Which prompts this conversation that leads to judgment and so many other things. But the point I'm making is, it's time to come out of hiding. The same invitation that was issued to Adam and Eve is available to us today. And that invitation is available to us through Jesus. He is the fullness of that invitation. He is the fullness of that invitation. Adam and Eve sinned, they hid, God came looking for them. You and I sinned, we hid, Jesus came looking for us. Guys, we didn't go to heaven to get saved. He came to earth. He came looking for us, asking, where are you? And so as you listen to this recap, I know this is a different kind of recap. You're like, I didn't sign up for this. Don't worry. It's the same vibe that was in church yesterday. The saints was looking at me like, I didn't come here for this. Why are you in my business? Why are you loud? But in this moment, as you listen to this recap, as you listen to this podcast, I want you to think about, where are you? Where are you? Do you still have the kind of relationship with God that you once had? Are you where you've always been? Because God is looking for you. And it's time for you to come out of hiding. Because Jesus is not looking to expose you to shame. He wants to reveal you so he can heal you. If you don't tell him what's really going on, it can't get fixed. If you're not willing to expose the parts of you that you'd rather keep hidden, there can be no fix. There can be no healing. And so my encouragement to you this day, whatever day you listening to this, is to come out of hiding. Because there is no being seen without being exposed. All right. I'm off that. Because I know some of y'all listening to this and you rolling your eyes and all kind of carry. I mean everything I said. Again, this is a formation focused approach to this text. Yes, it's about greed. So if somebody's preaching about greed, I'm not mad at them. Yes, it's about lying. Somebody's preaching about that, I'm not mad at them. But for us in this season, as we establish this formation focused church, I wanted to shift the conversation to performative spirituality. Because there are a lot of people hiding behind religion. And it's time to come out of hiding. All right, guys, as we wrap up this recap, I also wanted to bring something to the forefront in our church yesterday. We started something that's going to become a monthly rhythm for us, and that is Spotlight on Youth. And I'm really excited about it because I feel like there's a lot of conversation around deconstruction going on. And I'm not mad at it. Different people have different callings, different lanes. You know, I don't want to tussle with people about what they feel called to. But for me, I'm not a deconstructionist. There are aspects of my ministry that require a bit of deconstruction in terms of being willing to entertain the possibility that what you were taught or how you were taught may be wrong. So in order for you to embrace a lot of the stuff I teach, there's a deconstruction element that goes with it. So I'm not anti-deconstruction. But at the same time, much of my, at least for me, much of my religious upbringing was not traumatic. The church I came from was not perfect. There's no perfect church, but it wasn't traumatic. Yeah, we had issues. We had, people say things they shouldn't say, do things they shouldn't do, but it wasn't traumatic. So because of that, I'm in this season of life and ministry where I'm just like, okay, how do we reclaim some of the things that grandma and them used to do that were helpful? Because I think we just kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater. So how do we redeem some of the things that were helpful and marry them to a sort of modern flavor? So we're bringing back something we used to do called Spotlight on Youth, where once a month we pick one of our youth and the parents give us a little write-up about them, some of their accomplishments, what they do in school, they have talents, those types of things, just so that we can support them as a spiritual family. Because authentic community, one of our core values, is not just for the adults, it's for our kids. They're also a part of our community, and we want to do our best to be able to support them as best we can. So was really excited about that. We had a young lady who danced yesterday. It was amazing. Really proud of her, proud of all of our kids and the work that they're doing, not just within the church, but the work that they're doing outside of the church. So I'm really passionate about this formation focus, passionate about community, passionate about these things that God has called us to do. We are in pursuit of that. If it's not that, I don't want it, guys. That's just where I'm at. I've been doing this a long time. I've been in a lot of environments and a lot of spaces. It's part of the reason why I don't envy anybody else's calling, envy anybody else's results, because I'm so committed to what God has called me to do. If it's not this kind of church, I don't want it. I'm not looking at nobody else's paper. If it's not this, I don't want it. This is what I'm called to do, and I want to do it to the best of my abilities. All right. That's all I've got for this week's recap. I hope you got some value from it. Again, if you would do us a favor and share this. It's the one ask, the only ask I'll ever ask of you, to help us to help more people. Again, this is Kingdom South Plus, where we work the words of Jesus beyond Sunday.